So there is this feeling we all get at some point, usually late in the week or maybe even midweek, when you are staring at a clock that seems to be moving slower than usual. You know exactly what I am talking about. It is that specific kind of exhaustion that isn't just physical, but feels like it has settled into your bones, a heaviness that suggests something fundamental is off with how we structure our days. We tell ourselves that the standard work week is normal. We say things like 4 days in, 5 days out, or 80 hours a fortnight, and everyone nods along, because that is just what the world looks like. If you stop for a second and actually ask yourself why it is that way, really ask yourself without just repeating what someone told you when you were 20 years old. Does it make sense? Does the number 40 itself feel right? Or is it just an arbitrary line drawn in the sand somewhere along history that we have all agreed to treat like a law of physics? It is interesting how deeply embedded this idea becomes in our psyches because most people don't actually question the duration when they first start working. They are told you work from 9 to 5 or 8 to 4, and that is the deal. You show up, you do the tasks, you go home. But if you look back a little bit into the past, before this became the global standard, there were days where people worked 12 hours a day for 6 days, just like that, without blinking, because it was necessary for survival in industrial times. The factory floor doesn't care about your mental state or whether you feel burned out by Tuesday afternoon. It cares about output and uptime. So when did we decide that human beings needed a different rhythm than the machines they were operating? That is where things get murky because the history isn't as clean as we are taught in school. I remember reading somewhere that Henry Ford was involved in this, but not exactly in the way people think he pushed for it out of kindness or concern for workers' well-being. It wasn't a noble gesture to give everyone Saturday off so they could spend time with their families. It was actually about efficiency and consumption. He realized that if his workers were tired from working 6 days straight, then they weren't buying cars on Sunday because the factories were closed anyway. But more importantly, he saw that a rested worker was actually a safer worker and made fewer mistakes, which meant less scrap metal and lower costs. So it wasn't purely altruistic to shorten the hours. It was about optimizing the machine of production, even if that included human beings as components. But here's where I start wondering, because we aren't in factories anymore for most people. We sit behind screens or move around offices or work from kitchens and cafes. Constraints are different now. In a factory, the sun goes down and the lights flicker off, which forces you to stop even if you wanted to keep going. But with digital work, there is no hard boundary unless we create one ourselves, because the laptop stays open in your bag or on the desk at home. So why do we still adhere to this 40-hour limit as a badge of honor? Why does someone say, I worked 80 hours this week, and they mean it like a flex? Like that is a sign of dedication rather than a sign that their time management system is failing them completely. There must be something psychological about the number itself, because if we look at other cultures or different industries, the structure varies wildly. In some places, people work shorter weeks with longer hours per day, and in others, they have flexible schedules where you just need to get your tasks done by Friday afternoon, regardless of when you do it during the week. Here in many parts of the world, we still cling to this specific block of time as if it is a container for our lives that holds everything from Monday morning coffee to Friday night drinks. It feels like a ritual rather than a requirement, but rituals can be broken without the sky falling down, which makes me wonder what would happen if we just stopped following it tomorrow. Imagine waking up on a Monday and deciding that you are only going to work for 6 hours because you feel like you have enough focus in that window to do your best work. Then imagine telling your boss or your team that this is how you operate from now on. Would they say yes? Or would there be some kind of pushback based on availability or presence rather than output? This is the core tension I think we are dealing with, because the modern economy still measures success by time spent in a chair, not by value created in an hour. If you leave early, even if you finish your projects, people might look at you differently, like you aren't pulling your weight, or maybe they are just afraid that if one person leaves early, everyone else will follow suit. And then where does the management structure go? It is also worth considering what 40 hours actually represents in terms of energy. Most studies on cognitive performance suggest that after a certain point, our brain starts to degrade. We make more errors, we get irritable, we lose creative spark. So logically, why would anyone sign up for a schedule that pushes them past their peak productivity into the zone where they are just grinding through fatigue? Is it because we equate suffering with value? Like if I am tired, then I must have worked hard, and if I am not tired, maybe I didn't try enough. There is a moral weight attached to exhaustion in our culture that makes us feel guilty when we aren't exhausted at the end of the day. But let's dig into that history again, because it wasn't always this way, even within the Industrial Revolution. Before the standardization, there were many different shifts and work patterns depending on what you did. Farmers worked by the sun, so in winter they worked less than in summer, but no one called it a lie. They just followed the seasons. But when we moved into factories, we wanted consistency, because machines run better with consistent input of labor. So the week became a unit that matched the machine's cycle, not the human body's natural rhythm. We forced our biology to fit an industrial model, and now we are trying to use that same model for information workers, which is like asking a computer mouse to type in Morse code. It doesn't quite fit the hardware anymore. So what happens when you try to apply a physical labor standard to mental labor? You get burnout, because the brain doesn't have the same off switch as a machine that can be turned on and off at will. The brain keeps running background processes, worrying about emails or unfinished tasks, even when you are not working. This means that the time you spend away from your desk isn't always recovery time unless you actually disconnect completely. Most of us don't, because we carry our work in our pockets now on devices that demand attention 24/7. So even if you only log 40 hours at a computer, you might be mentally engaged for 80 or more. This makes me think about the definition of a lie in this context. Is it a lie to call it a standard if nobody ever actually follows it perfectly? Or is it a lie because we pretend that those 40 hours are enough to sustain us when they aren't? Maybe the real issue isn't the number itself, but the assumption that working more means producing better results. We see people glorifying the hustle culture, where sleeping 4 hours a night is seen as a badge of honor, and checking email at 3 in the morning is considered dedication. But if you look at the data from companies that have tried shorter weeks, like the one in Iceland or some tech startups, in Europe they found that productivity went up, not down, when people had more time to rest. So why hasn't this spread everywhere? Is it just inertia, or are there deeper economic reasons preventing us from changing the model? If every company adopted a 30-hour week without cutting pay, then we might see inflation or reduced output, which could hurt wages overall. But if we cut hours and keep pay the same, then profit margins get squeezed unless efficiency gains cover it. This is where things get complicated, because management often doesn't trust that their employees can do more in less time, so they require presence to prove effort. It becomes a game of watching people work rather than measuring what they actually produced. There's also the question of who benefits from this structure. If you are an employer, then having people come in for 8 hours gives you a lot of control over their schedule, and it makes tracking easier. But if you are a worker with kids or health issues or a second job that requires flexibility, then the rigid 40-hour block becomes a barrier to entry rather than a safety net. It assumes everyone has the same life outside of work, which is clearly not true for single parents or people caring for aging relatives or those trying to build side projects on top of their day jobs. I wonder if we are starting to see cracks in this system now because of remote work and AI tools that can automate tasks. If a machine can do the work of 3 people in half the time, then why do we need all 3 people for 40 hours each? Shouldn't we be sharing the remaining work among more people, or just reducing everyone's hours? But the answer for most corporations is to keep the same number of employees and let them sit there waiting for tasks. That feels wasteful on a massive scale, but it is safer than restructuring how value is measured in the organization. Another angle to consider is the social aspect of work. We spend so much time at our jobs that it becomes our primary community. If you reduce hours, do we lose those connections, or do we build them elsewhere? Some people say they don't want to leave their job because that is where they meet friends and have social interaction. But if you view this through a lens of health, then maybe we are relying on work for something it shouldn't provide, which is belonging and purpose. If the work week was shorter, would we fill that time with hobbies or family or just more rest? There is also the psychological contract between employer and employee that says, I give you my time in exchange for money. But if you give them your time, they own part of your life during those hours, which limits what else you can do. This ownership model feels outdated when we know that humans are not machines that need to be constantly fed inputs to keep functioning. We have rhythms and cycles like the moon or tides, and forcing ourselves into a continuous 8-hour block every day ignores our biological variability. Some days we are more productive in the morning, some in the evening, and yet the schedule demands uniformity from everyone, regardless of their chronotype. It makes me wonder if the future will look nothing like this at all, because technology will change how we define labor entirely. If AI takes over a lot of the repetitive tasks, then what is left for humans to do that requires presence? Maybe we move toward a project-based economy where you are paid for deliverables, not hours logged. But until that happens, we are stuck in the middle ground where we pretend the old model still works, even though everyone knows it doesn't anymore. I think part of the reason this feels like a lie is because we know deep down that we could do more with less time if we weren't constantly interrupted and distracted. The average worker spends hours every day on emails, meetings, and administrative tasks that don't contribute to their actual goals. So when you strip away all the busy work, maybe the 40-hour week shrinks to 20 naturally without anyone needing to mandate it. But then management might panic because they can no longer see what everyone is doing, so they invent more rules or KPIs to fill the void, which just creates more stress. So where does that leave us? We are stuck in a system that feels arbitrary, but is hard to change because of inertia and fear. It isn't necessarily that 40 hours was invented by a specific group with malicious intent. It evolved over time through negotiations between unions and owners who both wanted stability but had different priorities. The result was a compromise that worked for factories, but didn't translate well to the knowledge economy we live in now. There is also the question of whether this applies globally, because in some cultures, work is seen as a duty to family or community rather than individual achievement. So the hours might be structured differently around those values. But even there, globalization has pushed many toward the Western model, which prioritizes speed and output over well-being and balance. It feels like we are chasing an efficiency that doesn't exist because human beings are not efficient machines. We need downtime to process ideas and recover from stress. Otherwise, creativity dies and innovation stalls. Maybe the real lie is the idea that work is separate from life at all. If you treat your job as just a transaction of time for money, then it makes sense to cap the hours. But if you view work as part of who you are and how you contribute to society, then the boundaries blur anyway. You want to do good work, so you think about it, even when you aren't there, which means you never really leave the office behind in your mind. This brings up a point about autonomy, because if people could choose their own hours within reason, maybe they would find a better balance for themselves without needing a company mandate. Trust is low in many workplaces, so employers fear that flexibility will lead to slackness, even though studies show the opposite. It comes down to management styles and whether leaders believe their teams can self-regulate or if they need strict oversight to ensure productivity. I think we are at an inflection point where this old model might finally break because of economic pressures and changing workforce expectations. Younger generations value flexibility more than stability in some ways, so they are willing to leave jobs that don't offer it, even if the pay is good. This forces companies to adapt or lose talent, which could eventually lead to a standard shift towards shorter weeks as a benefit rather than an exception. But until then, we are all navigating this gap between what our bodies need and what our schedules demand. It creates a constant low-level stress that adds up over years of work life and contributes to the burnout epidemic we see today. So asking why the 40-hour week is a lie is really asking why we haven't evolved past it yet. It seems like we are waiting for a cultural shift where rest is seen as productive rather than lazy, where working less means you have more energy to bring to your tasks, which makes them higher quality. But that requires a mindset change at every level of the organization, from the CEO down to the individual contributor who feels guilty taking time off, even when it is allowed. So what do we do in the meantime? We try to protect our own boundaries as best we can and remind ourselves that the number 40 doesn't define our worth or value. It is just a convention that changes over time, like fashion trends or language rules. There is no moral imperative to stick to it if it isn't serving you anymore. But I also worry about the people who don't have the choice to leave early because their jobs are hourly and they need every minute paid out to survive. For them, the 40-hour week might be a lifeline that keeps food on the table, even if it burns them out in the process. So changing this system requires looking at income security, not just time management, or else we risk making things worse for the most vulnerable workers. That is a crucial point because efficiency gains from shorter hours need to be shared with workers, not captured solely as profit by shareholders. Otherwise, you end up with people working less but earning less, which defeats the purpose of better work-life balance. It has to be about redistributing time rather than just cutting costs. I wonder if we will see this happen organically through competition for talent, or if it requires legislation to enforce shorter hours across industries like some European countries have done. The US tends to rely on market forces, but Europe often uses laws to protect worker well-being, which suggests there are different philosophies at play regarding the role of government in labor standards. It is hard to know which path will win out because both have pros and cons, depending on how you look at it from a social welfare perspective or an economic growth perspective. But one thing is clear, that we cannot keep doing what we are doing forever without consequences for our health and society as a whole. The current pace seems unsustainable in the long run, even if it feels normal right now. So maybe the conversation isn't about whether the 40-hour week is real, but how much of it actually contributes to value creation versus just maintaining appearances of busyness. If we can identify that distinction, then we might start cutting away the parts that don't matter and focusing on what truly moves the needle for our work and lives. It feels like a puzzle where everyone has a piece, but no one is sure how they fit together yet, because the pieces keep changing shape as technology advances and society shifts. We are trying to solve an equation with variables we haven't identified yet, which makes finding a solution feel impossible sometimes. But I think the key lies in recognizing that we are all human first and workers second, regardless of what our job titles say. That means respecting our need for rest, connection, and time outside of professional obligations, because without those things, we cannot perform well anyway, even if we stay at the desk longer. So ultimately, this isn't just about hours on a clock, but about how we value ourselves and each other in the workplace. If we start treating people like humans with complex lives rather than resources to be utilized, then maybe the 40-hour week will fade into history naturally as something that doesn't fit anymore. I am curious what your thoughts are on this, because I feel like everyone has a different experience depending on their industry and role. Some people thrive in long hours while others crumble under the pressure, so it might not be one size fits all for anyone. Let me know if you have tried cutting back your own hours, or if you think there is any way to make this work better in your specific situation. Because I think sharing those stories helps us understand what is possible and what isn't yet. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into the history of work, then please consider liking the video, as it helps us explore these topics further with more depth next time. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss our upcoming discussions on how technology is reshaping our daily lives in ways we might not expect. Thanks for listening, and I will catch you in the next one, where we keep asking questions without having all the answers yet, because that seems like the best way forward anyway.